We told you earlier about a conversation we want to have, and we do this annually. It's just because we want to remind ourselves that expenditure patterns are always important, like normal individuals and families. Now, how do we have to do that? A conversation on how we track our spending throughout the year and going into the next year, what the projection should be. More so as we're within this period. Well, forget about looking 50. Okay, there's no 100 and 200. So at least you will not be frightened. Now, especially this Christmas, how do you plan? And then after, what kind of financial objectives and goals do you set for yourself? You know, and that's where we bring in our experts. And I have to say that I'm only becoming now a fair weather friend to Frank Kwache. And Frank Kwache works with Daffin Finance. He's the director. And they are just close by Tessan on their main office. Now, he's here once again to give us some great education. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Frank.
and good morning to your listeners and your viewers as well.
Well, but generally I have to ask you, how has the market been with your work and all the things that have been happening?
It has been a very difficult year, 2019. I think January we had 5 universal banks going down. May we had microfinances being shut down. August we have SDIs being shut down. And there is interconnectedness with all financial institutions, yes, okay. Because
how?
People take money, or financial institutions take deposits, they lend the deposits, and if there is no avenue to lend, they place them with other financial institutions. Those other financial institutions may either also lend or place it with other financial institutions. So when one financial institution goes down, there are interconnectedness with other financial institutions. And depositors also want their money because, of course, I always tell my staff that once depositors have brought their money, you haven't seized the money. They've kept the money with you for a time. They'll come for their money and they'll come for their return. So when they are coming for their money and they are coming for their return, and you have some little challenge or difficulty paying, it means there is what we call the liquidity cost. You have to borrow from somewhere to give it to them. And when you are pressed to borrow, you take the money at a higher cost. So this year has been a tough one, and lending has also been curtailed because of the crisis and other things. People have also taken their monies from the institutions. So by and large, it's not been a very pleasant one, but now, we are expecting that things will turn around.
Now, with all these on the market, how does that influence individual expenses and perhaps the ability to be able to attract?
Individual expenses are impacted in this way. Now you have money with an institution which might have been locked up. So you can't get access to that money easily. But if you have to still get money, you might need to look for another source of taking the money. So you get the money. So people's spending patterns have been curtailed because it's like not so much money is available to spend. And of course, prices of commodities and other things have gone up. I mean, the local currency is gone up. And by and large, we import a lot of things into this country. As of yesterday, some major banks are quoting 5.86, 5.87 as their selling rates. And if people are importing some of these produce or products into this country and the exchange rate is going up, it means the price had really gone up. And people don't have the money to spend now. So it becomes a difficulty then that the money is not there, the prices are higher, so how do we go about it? But by and large, I've seen that there's been a curtailment of expenditure patterns because there's no money or there's little money to go around.
So as individuals then, how do all these come into play when we're planning our own financial packages, plans, objectives, or setting them?
I've always maintained, not to be saying I'm philosophical, but this is a profound statement I learned very early in my career, that anything that cannot be written down cannot be managed. Anything that cannot be written down cannot be managed.
In that,
we need to write down what we want to achieve. being it expenditure, being it, revenue. If we write it down, I set myself as an example. December 12, I wrote down all the things that I will want to do this year end. The people that I may need to pay, the people that I may need to maybe gift them things. I wrote everything down.
As we say in local parlance, sort out.
That's it. And once it is written down and I saw the total, I was frightened. I said, wow, this is the total amount that I'm going to be spending. Do I have this amount of money? Then the next thing is that, now take a second look at it. Which of them can you make do with, or can you postpone? Or which of the expenditures can you cut down? Maybe for argument's sake, you said, oh, you're going to buy maybe biscuits. And you look at the price of the biscuits. And you look at the money that you have put down. Then maybe instead of buying 5, you said, I cannot afford 5, so I'll do what? 3. So it is starting with planning or writing the things down way ahead of time. And then you now do what I call shopping around. And that's why Christmas periods and other, you see a lot of people in town. Some people have misgivings that, oh, people have, other people from the other world have come. No, is that everybody wants to shop around and look out for prices and the best deals. And then you go back, you don't buy immediately, you go back to look at what you have written down. And then you start deciding that, okay, now this is the prices that I am seeing, this is how much I can afford, and then you move from there. But once again, if it is not written down, it cannot be managed.
I see. You wrote yours 12.
Yeah.
And let's say that's an attitude, so it's a given.
Yeah.
But where today is
21st.
okay, so 21st.
Or today's 20th, yeah.
Okay.
Today's 20th, yeah.
Okay, so,
tomorrow I'm ahead of time.
Okay.
The spending will start from tomorrow.
Okay, so am I too late to write it down?
Not at all. I mean, as far as today has just started, you have up to maybe in the evening to write all the things down, detail it. Okay, this Christmas, the people that I have to gift things to, you write all of them down. Am I going to do parties? Who am I going to invite? The number of people? Or I'm just going to, if you're not doing parties, oh, I'm going to hang out. Who am I going to hang out with? How much money do I need to do the hangouts? Okay, I want to travel. Where am I going? What am I going to spend? All those, write them down. It doesn't mean that all the things that you are writing down, you're going to achieve them. This is what I call the wish list. Once you've written the wish list down, then you sit back and then you start looking at it.
And you're saying we can write the wish list today?
Today, now. I mean, you can write, because I believe that much of the spending will start tomorrow. Because, of course, it's a semi-working day for people. Some don't work on Saturdays, but the markets will blossom or the markets will kick off tomorrow. Sunday, people will go to church, but I think after 12, the markets are still open. So then the shopping starts from tomorrow, so that once you've written them down, then you know that, oh, I need this item. I can take it. I need that item. If you go to the shop or you go to the market without a list, you buy anything at all. But if you go to the market with a list, you know specifically what you are going to pick. And my advice is that once you've taken the things that you need, please get out of the place if you don't want to spend more.
Okay. Now, after doing this, what would you say about, even though you've put down the thing on the list, carrying more cash?
Yeah.
Because you have done a wish list.
Yeah.
Now, you have to make sure you actualize the list. Yeah. So not everything will be expended or will be actualized. But you also have some spare cash. Maybe somebody gifted you something, maybe some 100 Ghana, 50 Ghana, 100 Ghana, something. Those, I mean, carrying cash, knowing that you have all these.
What I would say is that I will advise carry minimal cash when you're going out.
During this period?
During this period. Because there is this saying, or there is this attitude that once you have cash in your pocket, you are willing to go to places and spend. Those who are technological savvy or who have got cards, use the cards minimally. But using the cards has a danger, especially those who have credit cards, because it's fun swiping the cards.
If you say credit card, what do you mean?
I mean, some people have got Visa cards,
Okay.
which have got credit line. Some
You
have
mean you
got
can spend
MasterCard.
before
you
you
can
pay?
spend. I mean, I know the multinational banks and some of the local banks.
For example,
a number
my
of
bank,
them
Standard Chartered,
have
they do
it. Yes, Standard Chartered. I mean, which happens to be my bankers as well, also have it. But when you spend, 21 days after spending, the bills are going to come in. You've got to make payments. So if you have a Visa debit, that is better. You spend what you have in the bank. But what I also say is that those who don't have access to this technological savvy banking products can use their Momo or mobile money accounts, load the wallets, spend wisely. And once you're not taking out cash, there's also the likelihood that you overspend. So, but carry minimal cash on you. Because when you get to a place and the cash that you're carrying is so minimal and it's running out, you begin to think, how do I find my way home? Or how do I buy my petrol or my gas if you are North American bias to get home? So minimal cash is the advice. And of course also, if you carry minimal cash, you don't attract thieves and robbers and fraudsters, because of course they are also going to come to town and you know that people are going to be carrying cash. But if you're carrying minimal cash or you're carrying a plastic or you have the money electronically, it becomes difficult for you to lose those monies that you have on you. So that's my advice.
Now, if we have to move forward on the subject of those who tend to have a lot of friends, so they go out, and there's a time that I'm sure because of the way the holiday has been structured, we have a weekend. It's supposed to be a 2 working day or maybe a day's
I think it's a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is
the day itself.
The day itself,
26.
And I know a lot of people will take maybe 27 off. They might not show up.
Okay.
And then continue to have a long weekend.
If you know you're somebody who likes mingling, you like your Friday night out, your weekend out, etc., what's the caution?
The caution is also that know where exactly you are going. And some might come impromptu, like friends will come around and say, oh, can we just go to this place and other things. In those instances, my advice is that check the amount of cash that you have with you. Take minimal amount of cash out so that you don't overspend. Because when you overspend during this period on things that I say entertainment, which is good, or food, or having fun, it's all good. But at the end of the day, January will come. Those who have school fees to pay, the school fees will come up. Those who have bills to meet, the bills will come up. Because January is always the most difficult month that people go through, because in December, a lot of spending is done. And in January, that's when people begin to sit and say that, oh, this is how much I spent during this period. I shouldn't have maybe done this. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. And in settings where there is Boxing Day sales, people troop in and buy, only to regret the January that, oh, some of these things that
I didn't need them.
I didn't need them. And all because there was a sale or prices have dropped. There will always be a sale. But buy what you need and not what you want. That's my advice.
Now, at the end of the period, we all do know that there are some external factors that tend to influence our budget. And there could be eventualities. How do you plan for them? Let's say you're a single person, you have a family, and then you have dependents outside your nuclear family.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, Christmas is also known as a period where you show love, you show appreciation to people that have been with you. First and foremost, the listing I always say is that take care of yourself. I mean, do something for yourself. You should be grateful to maybe your maker that you've come to the end of the year and you're still alive. You want to make merry for yourself. Secondly, your family. Take care of your family. I always say that family are the last people who will be standing when you are down there. They'll be by you. And you can have exes, ex-friends, ex-whatever, but you can't have ex-family. You can't have ex-mother. You can't have ex-father. You can't have ex-brother. You have to show them love during these times. Then your friends will come in. So you spend and you give money to some friends of yours, And there might be also be some people who depend on you, maybe some area guys that are looking up to you, that maybe some little 20 Ghana cedis or 10 Ghana cedis just to make them happy during this period. You have to, take all these people on board during this period. But once again, when you have listed most of the things down, the impromptu ones will be so minimal. So in planning, I always say that keep what we call a miscellaneous line. The miscellaneous line is maybe something small there, and that is where all the impromptu or the unplanned things get into that miscellaneous line. But by and large, the major ones, plan them all out. That's what I'll say. Yeah.
What is not a fruitful spending habit, but within this period, what is a self-assuring spending habit?
Well, let me use the ordinary person who works. You know, your paycheck is maybe, let's say, 1,000 Ghana cedis. Your rent might be, let's say, 250 Ghana cedis out of that. That's your utilities and all those things needs to be taken out. Once these ones have been taken out, what is left is what you are now going to spend for the Christmas period. If you are fortunate to work in an institution where there are maybe Christmas hampers, Christmas bonuses, and other things that come your way, then you can plan with those ones also in there. But by and large, the spending should be what can I afford and what can I do away with. For instance, you might say that, okay, at the end of the year, I want to maybe travel to Akosombo. Let me just use Akosombo for example. How do I get to Akosombo? Maybe you're going to drive. Which vehicle am I going to use? Maybe you have two vehicles. You're going to use the vehicle which might be maybe taking less amount of fuel and factor in the traffic and other things to get there. So once you have all these things maybe made up, and once again, please write them down. Because people always think that, oh, I can keep them in my mind. No, there are 1,001 things. Yes, there are 1,001 things that you have going on in your mind. And there's a likelihood that you forget a lot of them. Write them down, and then you can then do the apportioning of the monies that you have. Because if you apportion so much than you can afford, then it's like that is where you are overspending. Then you'll be forced to maybe see friends and say, oh, can I borrow from you? And after Christmas, I'll give it to you. That friend also has got
his responsibility. His list.
So avoid, burdening people to say, oh, lend me money doing that. Because they also have a responsibility. So that's my advice on that.
Okay. But the miscellaneous, you keep it up for emergencies like health?
Health and other things.
Okay.
If you have children, some of the children will be running around, they will fall down, you have to maybe rush to them to the hospital or buy something, somebody's eating something, food poisoning and other things, you may have to rush. The miscellaneous should be there, so that if those things should happen, you have some cash to fall on to do those ones. Other than that, you find yourself that you are stuck, and there's difficulty in maybe making the festive activities or making the fun that you plan. So the miscellaneous is needed.
By now, somebody will say that all this December 12 lists, or now if you're late, December 21 or 20th list should have been done from January.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's why when we step into next year, you plan. I've got some friends who say that.
Let's say you just couldn't keep up with all this. It didn't come to mind. Yeah. What should you be looking out for, being the outlook for the next 12 months?
For the next 12 months, like next year, January, you start. You can start even this December. January, you know the bills that are coming up. If you're a family person, you've got children, you know the bills that are coming up. You list all of them. February, you know what you're going to do. And I believe in at least doing maybe 3 months ahead of time. You do 3 months. You might not be able to plan the whole year. But if next year you know that you're going to be around, and you plan that I will want to spend Christmas maybe in Kumasi, then you start planning towards it and start putting money aside before December shows up. and then you know that, oh, I don't have enough to go to the Kumasi that I plan. It's always good to have fun because, I mean, work-life balance, I believe in that strongly, that you work so hard, you must also have fun and enjoy the wealth or enjoy the money that you have worked for. So planning ahead of time, like for 2020, of course, there's going to be elections, there's going to be, I mean, money's coming in, people are going to be spending on paraphernalia, party. I mean, there will be some spend going on. Government has promised that he's going to do roads. It means people are going to get jobs through the road sector and other things. So spending is going to come through. Once spending is going to come through, the question then you ask is that, how do I position myself to take advantage of all this macro big English things that we have been hearing? How do I mean, partake in it in my own small way, in the micro way? But once again, start the planning early. January 2020 is going to be here. You start writing the things down that this year, 2020, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to achieve. I have friends that they always have what they call plan on a page. A year, what I want to do. 3 years, what I want to do. 5 years, what I want to do. And I find that something that I share with people. Why? Corporates that are running very well. The corporates that have been around for 120 years, 150 years old, they always have that medium-term plan, budgets, and other things. If we want to have life meaningful and enjoy our lives, then we should translate that corporate ideology into our personal lives by writing things down. And I think it will be a better lifestyle for people that do that.
Okay. So now, in which areas of our lives would you say that the planning should be done? Is it only financially?
Not financially. I like the example that I gave you on that friend's plan on the page. He sees himself that, okay, in a year's time, maybe his children are going to go to college. So he's planning their...
If it's a college, university.
In our contest, okay. So he's planning which school they are going to go to. He wants to maybe advance his career. He wants to maybe go and do a PhD. So he's looking at, okay, when my children are in maybe year 2, then I'll start thinking about that. I mean, it should be, your life is made up of various facets. Your career, okay, I've worked in this institution for 5 years. What's next? Do I upgrade myself? Do I look to move to another department to learn something new? Or do I entirely move from that organization? Do I change careers? I mean, people will be changing careers. I know friends who are accountants, they're thinking about, oh, maybe we want to pursue something law. Okay, I want to take up a law profession, add it up to that. Or people will say that, okay, I just want to maybe enhance maybe my work with God. It must be something that you have to. And I always believe that start maybe talking about the spiritual if you believe in God. Do the spiritual planning. Do also the fiscal planning. And then do, I mean, what I call your living. Maybe I want to have a house. I want to move out from this vicinity. I want to maybe travel overseas. All those things, you write them down. Those who are career-minded will say, okay, maybe I want to be promoted. So I have to put in a lot to be promoted to the next grade. Or some who have big ideas. I want to be an executive director. Or it's about time that I run my own institution. All those things needs to be penned down so that you have the bigger picture of where your life is going as an individual. And of course, that is when then the finances will come in. Because after you've done all the planning, the question now is that, how do I finance this plan or this project that I've set for myself? Then you start looking out for what is the best means of doing it, which is the easier option, or which is what we call, which of them are the low-hanging fruits that I can pick on and do or run with them, that it will be at a minimal effort. So that's what my advice is for people in a nutshell, that 2020, maybe when I was growing up, there used to be a document in this country called Vision 2020. Oh. I don't know what happened to that.
90s.
Yes, I don't know what happened to that Vision 2020. But I wish that we could go back and maybe look at that document and ask that, oh, So this was planned some years back. Where are we now?
Post 2000.
Well, it's rather unfortunate.
Then we did some 15 one. You remember that?
Yes. So it's something that it may be worth revisiting to see that, okay, so the things that those who wrote them down, where are they now? And as individuals, if we do that, it gives us even the opportunity to reevaluate our life and know how much progress we have even made in maybe the last 5 years, in the last 3 years, in the last 1 year.
Of course, you can't achieve everything, but at least
it should be written down, and then you tick them and say that I have done them, and you work towards it.
Okay. Yeah. We want to encourage viewers to also call in. You can also send us a text message, but let me just give you the phone line for you to call. It's not the regular 030. This is 055. Again, 055 6614 049. Okay. The 030, I'm also told, is also working. So we have 055 6614 049. Again, 055 6614 049, as well as the old one is also working, or the regular one is also working. The 030 line. You can also give us more of your messages on WhatsApp. So we have a WhatsApp platform, 054 010 909. We already have Richard calling from WhatsApp. Richard, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, Richard. Tell me, what have you learned so far in our interaction with Mr. Kwachi?
Please, I have learned a lot. And
are you somebody who usually plans?
Please, you said.
Are you somebody who likes planning, or?
Yes, please. I like planning, of course. And you see, it all boils down to money. If doctor gets me very right, you see, for instance, myself, I've dreamed of being a private school for a very long time, but to start with has become the problem. So if there is enough work and people get money, I think anything that they plan, they will achieve it. So this. Good morning, thank you.
What do you do?
Please, for now, I'm not doing any work. So if you can give me some work to do.
Okay. So let's say for somebody who he's not having a regular employment. So how does it?
That's a challenge, and I tell people that.
You need a regular stream of income.
You need a regular stream of income, and you also need to ask yourself, what can I do for myself? And not necessarily waiting for somebody to come and offer you something. Why do I say that? There was a time of a gentleman that I know. He's a qualified accountant. He lost his job. And he was sitting home, and he has family to feed and other things. He resorted to even newspaper distribution. And people were like, really? You, an accountant, doing newspaper distribution? And he said, well, he had to do something for himself. He was qualified. He's got all the credentials and other things. He's written all the applications. He's applied for all the jobs. But not until he got the job that he was looking for, he took to something which doesn't need any skill set to do it. He was distributing the papers, and he was distributing it in the middle of the night so that he could get some money
to go through the day
until he found a job. And I have also known people, friends that I have interacted with, who were in school, they couldn't pay their school fees or they couldn't pay their college fees. They had to take on jobs like cleaning jobs and other things to supplement whatever they are doing. But it comes down to sometimes with some ego also that, oh, I see myself that this is a job that I'm looking for, and once I'm not getting that job, I'm not going to be doing any other thing. Okay. It comes down to what I call you, the individual, making that effort to say that this circumstance that I find, or this situation that I find myself in, we need some radical change to put me to some level so that, and I can give you an example. There's a guy who completed Polytechnic in this country. I think around 2013. And a guy comes to town looking for somebody to drive him around town. This guy offered that, I'm going to do it. And he drove the guy around town, and it so happened that their car, the key, got broken somewhere along the line. And then what happened was that this guy, knowing the area, went to look for some auto mechanic or whatever it is to come and help them open it. So the gentleman who didn't know this guy, but the guy was just driving him around, was like, how did you know that there was some auto mechanic here, whatever it is? Then he said, oh, boss,
I know my way out.
You know what? I know my way out here. The polytechnic around here, that's why I went to school. And the guy was like, really? You completed the polytechnic? So that was the link between the gentleman and the other guy. And today that guy is gainfully employed because he saw that the guy was willing to come down or to leave his certificate somewhere and take on something to get himself going. But how many people will be willing to do that kind of what? I mean, come down to do something else.
Yeah.
People normally will not do things like that.
All right, technology has taken place. Now let's move on and also tell you again about our lines 030-2211-69102. Again, 030-2269-102. Please make sure you call those lines, or you can also give us your messages through a WhatsApp platform 054-010-909. Let us hear from you. But in the meantime, if we have to do the broadening of the discussion, how do you perhaps look for finances if you have, let's say, a project that you want to undertake? For example.
Well, it's difficult in current times to find money because all the banks and financial institutions are a bit hesitant. If the money that they're giving you, there is not going to be what I call underlining or regular cash flow to pay for the money that you are taking. And it depends on which projects that you are setting up for yourself. If the project is not a big project, then I'll say break them up into chunks and see which one I can deal with, which one I may have to postpone at some point in time. But it's also worth going to a financial advisor to talk you through what you have put out there and how feasible. Because when it comes to source of financing, there are avenues. I mean, the easiest ones is maybe from your own savings that you might have some portion, and some might come from friends and family. And then if friends and family are not there, then so you take it to the next step of looking for a financial institution to help you out. But after you've exhausted I'll say the easier ones or the low cost ones, like your own resources from friends and family, before you start looking at the financial institution. Because the financial institutions, remember that any money that they give you is depositors' funds, and the funds will have to be returned at some point in time, and you have to pay a return on that. So if it is not going to go into a productive, if it's not going to go into a productive venture, but it's just for entertainment or something of that sort, please don't take money from a financial institution. Okay.
Let's go to Cantonment, and Aku is on the line. Aku?
Yes, Roland.
Yes, please.
Good morning.
Morning. Any lessons learned so far?
Yes, that's very educative, you know. And then I have a problem of, yes, Roland. Yeah, how do you do?
Okay.
Yes, yes. This program is very educative, and then, you know, I have a problem of spending.
You do? Aku, please lower the volume of your TV set, and then we can talk through the phone line. I think it helps. Have you lowered the volume?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you directly. So you have a problem of spending. What do you do in the first place?
Roland, this is very difficult.
What is difficult? What you do?
Yes, like, I mean, the spending.
Okay. So tell me about your experiences. What makes you spend?
Yes, you know, I'm the type, anytime I make a list to town, I'm not able to purchase what I want on the list. But then, when I go freely, like open-minded, this is what I want to get, I easily get it.
How are you able to do that? You rather you don't go according to your list, but
Yes,
the one
when
in
I
your
go
mind.
according to the list, it's solely impulse buying.
So
Yes.
does it mean that when you want to, would you want to admit? Would you want
Yeah,
to?
impulse buying is not something that I encourage.
Hold on, Aku.
Impulse buying is not something that I encourage, because the reason why impulse buying is not encouraged, it means that you haven't thought through what exactly you're going to be purchasing. And there's a likelihood that you spend more than the price of, or what you could get it for another, at another time. But if you have planned for it, for instance, you know you're going to buy maybe, let's for argument's sake, you're going to buy a mobile phone. The mobile phone may be at a particular price, but maybe you have in mind that this is how much I can afford. If peradventure you enter the shop and there is a sale and the price had come down, that I would say, because originally it was on your list, you can then buy it. But if you just walk into the shop and see things and start spending, what is going to happen is that you end up spending and always having difficulty meeting the things which are necessary or which you need. You end up buying what we call your wants and not your needs.
Yeah.
And then you have yourself to blame. And you'll be going in circles, and there could be some level of stress even coming onto you when you don't have money.
Okay. So please make sure you keep calling at 030-22691 or 2. But Aku, what do you, when you say you go and do impulse buying, what do you buy?
I buy things which I don't have on my list.
So what is it that you go to the markets and you go and buy, or you mean you just go and do a general shopping activity?
No, I'm coming from the point of view, like, when I don't have things at home, I easily picture what I need. But when I go with a list, that's where I have a problem.
Okay, once you can picture it, maybe your list is what I call virtual. Your list is maybe in your mindset. Once is the things that you need in the house, or it's groceries, then that one, it's like it's a list in itself.
Yeah.
But maybe the things that maybe you wrote on the list are maybe what we will call the wish list, and it's not necessarily necessary, or it's not needed, but it's a want. So that is why you are not buying the things that are on your list. That is the explanation I can prefer to what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Aku. Aku is calling from Cantonment. Please make sure you call us 030-2211-691 or 2. Let us hear from you. 030-22611 or 2. Okay. So 030-2211-691 or 2. Let us hear from you. And but as we wind up our conversation, what would be some of the best advice you have for let's say people who earn 1,000 Ghana cedis, those who earn 2,000, and those who earn 3,000 and above?
Okay, for those who earn 1,000, I have always said that 1,000. You give me a range: 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. We shop or we do things
in this Ghana.
1,000. And in this Ghana, 1,000 is it's a stretch, but I know that some people earn 1,000, especially people that work in. Some even earn less than 1,000. I mean, let me be blunt. Security services pay people less than 1,000. And I asked, how are those people going to survive?
You mean private security?
Private security. How are they going to survive? What I would say is that you cut the coat according to the size. You don't shop in certain areas. I live somewhere on the Spintex. I shop around on the Spintex. But if you live on the Spintex, and excuse me to say, you don't earn that much, then there are certain places on the Spintex also. I mean, I would say the Texpo Market is there. You can get some of the things there. But if you belong to a certain category of people, then you might shop in maybe the Totals, the Shells, and all those things. So I think that in a marketplace, in a market setting, there is a place for everybody, depending on how much money you have. For instance, let's just use this example. This morning or this afternoon, some people will eat in a restaurant. Some people will also go to some, what I call some chop bar. Okay. Some people will also go to the roadside and buy wache or buy some ball of kinky. Oh. At the end of the day, everybody's eating. Yeah. But the bottom line is, what you can afford is what you have to do. Don't go and buy or go to a restaurant when you know you cannot afford or you cannot continue with that. Those who can afford, let them do what they can do. So my advice is that during this period, don't behave like the Joneses, or don't behave like the people that live or drive the nice cars in town. Do what your budget or what your money can afford. For instance, Christmas, if you have eaten, or you can buy a small bag of rice and cook it with some tinned fish, or if you can afford tinned fish, buy some fish and prepare and eat, and you have eaten and you're happy. Just be happy and be comfortable or be content with what you have at that time. And not compare yourself to somebody maybe driving to the Golden Tulip, Movenpick, or...
But it's all because they can afford.
They can afford.
Yeah. Okay, Prince, you're calling us from
Hello.
Tamale. Yeah, Prince.
Hello.
Yeah, Prince, good morning.
Hello. Morning, Roland.
Okay, so I have two people on the line. I will have Mohammed and Prince. Please, I'll go first with Prince. Prince.
Okay. The program is very educative.
Thank you.
And I thank Joy News for the good way people are doing to always add those kind of things to your news things, and so that we can also benefit in our daily life.
What have you learned so far?
I have a problem with, I don't know, my personal life. I don't know, because of the way I grew up. I don't do a work or something that I am sure that this is what I benefit at the end of the month or at the end of this season. This is what comes to me. My business, in a day, I can make so much, and in a whole month period, I may not make something. So there are times when I put budget or plan those things, it makes as if I cage myself, or when the time comes for me to get a thing, I'm not in the position to get it. So it makes my life or something like me, like when I get much, before you know, I spend a lot because I have a lot in mind to get those. So how do I plan for those ones?
Okay, Prince.
The man to
Prince,
give me maybe a possible way to be able to manage, because there are times that I may spend and I don't have anything in my hand again.
All right, before Mr. Kwache comes in, let's get some parameters. Can you hear me, Prince?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's your average expenditure for a month? If do you know it?
Yes, I mean, my average expenditure for the month.
The big ones
food,
are food,
when I was single, I
rents.
do spend flamboyantly, but when I'm married, I think through the help of my wife, through things I've streamlined. So my average expenditure with rent, utilities, and everything goes about 600, 700 a month.
Okay.
Okay. Is it what Prince? Prince, yes. your situation is more like what I call the consultants or the typical professionals like lawyers or accountants. You do one work and you earn so much. I mean, maybe the next 2-3 months, nothing is coming through the pipeline. What those people do, and of course, I've been a consultant before, it's like when you earn the money, you should have at the back of your mind that, okay, I've earned, let's say, 6 months money. So I'm going to spread that money over 6 months. Because on the average, that's why we ask on the average how much you spend. So if you're spending 600, and for argument's sake, you do a job, and you earn, let's say, 4,200, you know you've gotten 7 months money now. So then you have to then plan and spread the money over the 7 months. That is where you might need maybe a bank or a financial institution to say that, okay, I've taken maybe what I need for the 2 months. The other ones that I don't need, let it go to that financial institution so that I have even difficulty going to just retrieve the money. But so if the money is in your pocket, yes, you lock it up maybe into a fixed deposit or into a treasury bill. You know that you don't have access to the money immediately. So that the 2 months money that you have, that's what is going to take care of you. Other than that, once the money is in your pocket, you will overspend the 600 because you now know that I have more cash, and you'll be anticipating that, oh, I'm getting a job or I'm getting something coming up in the next 2 weeks, which might take maybe the next 4 months before something comes down the line. So once you earn a big chunk of money at one point in time, spread it over the period that, I mean, you can averagely say that this is how much I'll be spending on a monthly basis. And that's my advice to you.
Okay. Mohammed, are you on the line? Well, Mohammed has gone off. Okay, so that's where we have to wrap up our conversation for the morning. Good. And I have to say that thank you.
Thank you too for having me.
For spending the hour with us and giving us great advice. There are some key lessons I've also picked up personally, so we'll all take it up consequently, knowing that sometimes you're also involved in some key entrepreneurship activities yourself. So thank you so much. Joy, you said diploma teachers earn 1,000 to 1,200, and he says wahala. You have any advice?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's a stretch. Yeah. But you can make do. Yeah, you can make do because I'm looking at it. Maybe it depends on where you live, but you might spend, let's say, about 25% to maybe 30% of that on maybe groceries. And then if we should layer on your rental.
If it's a grocery, what do you mean?
Like food. Eating, provision, what I mean you call provisions and eating, maybe if you want to eat 2 square meals. Okay, thank you, because Roland is
not shopping mall level. No, groceries.
Yeah, groceries are for a category of people. Or let's say you're going to the market to buy food. Or your food provisions, like you said it. Provisions to take care of yourself. I mean, you might spend about 25% of that, depending on what you even want to eat. So let's say 250 in a month, and then you're...
Is that possible to be spent on food?
On food. Depends on which type of food that you want to be cooking. I mean, if those who cook always minimize the cost. Okay. Because remember, the one that you're buying from the person who has cooked it, he or she is layering on a profit margin, which you are paying for. There's always a markup. But if you cook it yourself, you know that you can maybe store some and heat it and use it for other things. So that's what I would say.
All right. We have this one also from Mark from Kwando in the Volta region. The financial education is very important to build a strong financial background. Please, I need the contact number of the financial advisor on the AM show. We'll see how far we can help you with that. So I'm really enjoying today's discussion. Much more of such should be organized for us to know how to manage our monetary resources. Great. Thanks, Mr. Rowe. And that's from Mina Hunter from Idubiase. We have this one also. It says, Roland, I'm enjoying the show, but after national service, I'm working on a job that pays me 250 Ghana cedis a month. As at now, Xmas is next week. Here's a case I have nothing left on me to spend. That's it. This one is not only a stretch, this is a stretcher. As Mr. Kwache would say. Sule says, I'm an accountant by profession, but I've kept aside my certificate to sell meat just to earn myself something at the end of the day. And he took a cue from your education or your experience that you shared, and also shared the story. Roland, I'm Wakon, a teacher in Ahafu region, Kwapong, aka Baghdad. I've been listening to your program on Joy News, and I can say it's very educative. Planning helps a lot. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. I do agree. Okay. We have more of your messages, so we'll keep sharing them as and when the program goes on. But we've had in the studio Mr. Frank Kwache, CEO for Defin Finance. They're just down the road, Tesano. After the police depot, you go further up is it Nyamicha Junction? No.
No, Abeka Junction. You go past Abeka Junction. And two houses from the Baptist Church.
Yes, they are just, yes. If you're going straight down the road, they are on the left, I should say.